Chapter 20. Jacob closed his eyes and snuggled closer to Bella. His thoughts didn't slow. Questions swirled in his mind, their number rivaling the number of snowflakes that piled around us. He didn't understand me. He didn't understand Bella's attraction to me, or our relationship. He didn't understand why I had decided to sit out of the battle tomorrow. I could almost hear the curiosity percolating, preparing to spill over. He'd never tell me. Maybe I would, I challenged. But would you be honest? He arched an eyebrow. You can always ask and see, I shrugged. It was ironic that in order to obtain the answers he sought, he would have to trust me. I could tell him the truth. I would tell him anything, but it wasn't likely he would believe a word I said. His truth and mine were not necessarily in the same realm of reality. Well, you see inside my head. Let me see inside yours tonight. It's only fair, he said. Your head is full of questions. Which one do you want me to answer? He furrowed his brow and thought for a moment, gauging whether or not he believed I would tell him the truth. The jealousy, he finally blurted out. It has to be eating at you. You can't be as sure as yourself as you seem, unless you have no emotions at all. Because I know it's killing me. Of course it is, I admitted, beginning to regret agreeing to answer his questions. Right now it's so bad I can barely control my voice. Of course, it's even worse when she's away from me, with you, and I can't see her. Do you think about it all the time? Does it make it hard to concentrate when she's not with you? I was beginning to wonder whether he was purely curious, or whether or not there was a well-hidden agenda behind his questions. What would Bella think if she were awake to hear our exchange? I thought about his question for a moment, debating whether to answer or not, whether or not I should admit how much of an impact he had on our lives. Yes and no, I finally said. My mind doesn't work quite the same as yours. I can think of many more things at one time. Of course that means I'm always able to think of you, always able to wonder if that's where her mind is, when she's quiet and thoughtful. I wonder how much she thinks about me. Too bad he can't answer that. Probably a good thing. If he knew how much she thought about me, he'd be even more jealous. Maybe even realize. Yes, I would guess she thinks about you often, I interrupted. More than I like. I lowered my head, tracing an absent pattern of swirls on the tent floor. She worries that you're unhappy. Not that you don't know that. Not that you don't use that. I glared at him for a moment. I began to lose count of the number of times Bella fretted over Jacob. He was shaping up to be a masterful manipulator, skilled in the art of guilt. I have to use whatever I can, he countered. I'm not working with your advantages. Advantages like her knowing she's in love with you. That helps, I smiled. His eyes narrowed. She's in love with me too, you know. My jaw flexed. The tiny voice in the back of my mind whispered to me just how right Jacob was. The far-off look in Bella's eyes, the way she worried over him, her careful way of guarding secrets. They were all small indications that maybe there was more to their relationship than she would admit. I can't tell you if you're right, I finally answered. I saw a glimmer of hope in his eyes. I hadn't outright denied it. Does that bother you? Do you wish you could see what she's thinking too? All the time, I thought. Yes and no, again. She likes it better this way, and though it sometimes drives me insane, I'd rather her be happy. Much as I would love to see into her mind, I was sometimes grateful for the ignorance her silent mind afforded me. If I truly knew how much she cared for Jacob, as I suspected she did, that might upset me even more than not knowing at all. The walls around us shook as the howling winds battered the small tent. Jacob wrapped his arms more tightly around Bella. You're safe with me. I'll protect you. I felt an odd sensation in my chest. Gratefulness? As bizarre as it was, being tossed into this strange symbiotic relationship, where we were forced to rely on each other, I found myself feeling thankful that he was there, thankful that he could do this for Bella when I couldn't, but that feeling came with the accompanying jealousy and inadequacy. I brought my knees up to my chest, hugging them tightly. Thank you, I whispered. Odd as it might sound, I suppose I'm glad you're here, Jacob. You mean, as much as I'd love to kill you, I'm glad she's warm, right? It's an uncomfortable truth, isn't it? I chuckled. I knew it. You're just as crazy jealous as I am, he smirked. Of course I was jealous. Who wouldn't be, given our situation? I'm not such a fool as to wear it on my sleeve like you do. It doesn't help your case, you know, I whispered smugly. Shows what you know. He furrowed his brows, and his lip turned into a frown. You have more patience than I do. I should. I wrapped my arms more tightly around my legs, lowering my chin to my knees. I've had 100 years to gain it, 100 years of waiting for her. I looked down at Bella sleeping peacefully. I had waited so long for her, spent much too much time alone, and I would be damned if I would let this pup waltz into our lives and think he could just take her away. He didn't have that kind of power. I wouldn't let him. I couldn't. You weren't always. I've seen you lose your temper plenty of times. So at what point did you decide to play the very patient good guy? She's got to realize this is all an act. I remembered the exact moment I had made that decision. The night in the forest with my brothers in Carlisle. The night Alice put me in my place, and made me realize that if I were going to lose Bella, it would be because of my own jealousy and overprotectiveness. The knot in my stomach twisted as I remembered too well the nausea that preceded that conclusion. Jacob looked at me expectantly, and I realized I hadn't answered his question. I cleared my throat. When I saw how much it was hurting her to make her choose, it's not usually this difficult to control. I can smother the monster, killer, less civilized feelings I may have for you fairly easily most of the time. Sometimes I think she sees through me, but I can't be sure. I think you were just worried that if you really forced her to choose, she might not choose you. Would she? I would never force Bella into that position, but in essence, she had chosen. She always had a choice. She knew that. And she chose me. She accepted my proposal. But what if I did force her to choose? Told her that she could either be with me or be friends with Jacob, that there was no in-between, no room for compromise. I flinched. A twinge of doubt in my mind told me that there was always a possibility, but I couldn't let Jacob know that. It would only make him fight that much harder for her. That was part of it, I admitted, but only a small part. We all have our moments of doubt. Mostly I was worried that she would hurt herself trying to sneak away to see you. After I had accepted that she was more or less safe with you, as safe as Bella ever is, it seemed best to stop driving her to extremes. I'd tell her all of this, he sighed, but she'd never believe me. Us having a civilized conversation? Impossible. I know, I smiled, rolling my eyes. What would Bella think if she could see us together now? I doubt she would believe me either, given our history. You think you know everything, he grumbled. Sometimes I wished I did. Sometimes I wish I could see everything, and nothing could surprise me. But then again, one of the things I loved most about Bella was that she never did what I expected. She was a lesson in the unknown, a welcome breath of fresh air in what seemed like a rather dull existence. I don't know the future, I whispered. But your psychic does. But where I most needed Alice, her ability was useless. When Bella was with him, we could see nothing. She completely disappeared, her existence all but erased. I shook my head sadly. What would you do if she changed her mind? He asked. I don't know that either. Let the sadness take me, I suppose. All I wanted in this life was for Bella to be happy, and if he was what she wanted, then I would have nothing else to do but accept that, as much as it would pain me. Would you try to kill me? As if. No, I said simply. Why not? Because you can't. I'd like to see you try. Do you really think I would hurt her that way? I nodded to Bella. He narrowed his eyes for a moment and looked down at her. I couldn't either. I couldn't do that to her. Yeah, you're right, he sighed. I know that's right. But sometimes, man, I'd love to take you, though. See what you've got. Sometimes it's an intriguing idea. He smiled, laughing lightly. Exactly. Something strange was happening. Jacob was my enemy, in more than one sense. But in this moment, this temporary truce, I saw something in him that I hadn't seen before. Maybe I was beginning to see what Bella saw, see why she was drawn to him, why she called him a friend. Could we be friends? I shook my head. The notion was preposterous. Jacob and I would always be at odds, and Bella would always be trapped in the middle, but it was intriguing to see how much we truly shared in common. My eyes caught a glimpse of the bracelet on Bella's arm, the wolf and the heart at odds with each other, but revolving around the same source, revolving around her. Jacob and I shared something truly unique. The word equinox came to mind. Equinox, equal night. Like the immovable forces of the celestial heavens, Jacob and I were locked into our roles, orbiting the center of the universe. Like the day and the night, we were balanced, each seemingly to equate with the other, neither able to gain the ground we wanted. No matter how much we longed for it, one would always have to contend with the other, eternally. An eternal equinox. "What is it like, losing her?" he asked. "I saw what it did to her. When you thought you had lost her forever, how did you cope? How will I?" My chest tightened, and a lump formed in my throat at the very mention of that time. Those were the darkest days I had ever experienced. Months of separation that culminated in utter despair when I believed I had lost her. I squeezed my eyes shut and lowered my head. "That's very difficult for me to talk about," I whispered. "I don't know what I would do," he thought. "I can't imagine losing her. She's my best friend. Her smile lights up my world. I don't even want to think about living in a world without her smile." I took a deep breath. There were 2 times when I thought that. The first time, when I thought I could leave her, that was almost bearable, because I thought she would forget about me, and it would be like I hadn't touched her life. For over 6 months, I was able to stay away, to keep my promise that I wouldn't interfere again. It was getting close. I was fighting, but I knew I wasn't going to win. I would have to come back, just to check on her. That's what I would have told myself, anyway. And if I had found her reasonably happy, I like to think that I could have gone away again. But she wasn't happy, and I would have stayed. That's how she convinced me to stay with her tomorrow, of course. You were wondering about that before. What could possibly motivate me? What she was feeling so needlessly guilty about? She reminded me of what it did to her when I left, what it still does to her when I leave. She feels horrible for bringing it up, but she's right. I'll never be able to make up for that, but I'll never stop trying anyway. She was happy. She was happy with me, or at least she could have been. And the other time, when you thought she was dead?" he asked. "Because that's what will happen, isn't it? If she chooses you, she'll be dead, just like you are. And I will have lost her." "Yes," I replied. "It will probably feel that way to you, won't it? The way you perceive us. You might not be able to see her as Bella anymore, but that's who she'll be." "That's not what I asked," he hissed, narrowing his eyes. "Freaking mind reader." "I can't tell you how it felt," I spat back. "There aren't words." There weren't words to describe the absolute and utter desperation I felt when Rosalie told me Bella was dead. I didn't want to believe her. Every cell in my body screamed against it. But when I called and Jacob's voice confirmed it, my entire world fell apart. I clutched my arms to my chest, feeling the familiar sensation of the gaping hole that Bella's absence created. "But you left because you didn't want to make her a bloodsucker. You want her to be human. So why change your mind? That means that leaving, all that you put her through, it was for nothing." "Jacob, from the second I realized that I loved her, I knew there was only 4 possibilities. The first alternative, the best one for Bella, would be if she didn't feel so strongly for me. If she got over me and moved on, I would accept that, though it would never change the way I felt. You think of me as living stone, hard and cold. That's true. We are set the way we are, and it's very rare for us to experience real change. When that happens, as when Bella entered my life, it was a permanent change. There was no going back. There would be no going back for me. Bella was it. The second alternative, the one I had originally chosen, was to stay with her throughout her human life. It wasn't a good option for her, to waste her life with someone who couldn't be human with her, but it was an alternative I could most easily face, knowing all along that when she died, I would find a way to die too. 60 years, 70 years? It would seem like a very, very short time to me, but then it proved to be much too dangerous to live in such close proximity with my world. It seemed like everything that could go wrong did, or hung over us, waiting to go wrong. I was terrified that I wouldn't get those 60 years if I stayed near her while she was human. So I chose option 3, which turned out to be the worst mistake of my very long life, as you know. I chose to take myself out of her world, hoping to force her into the first alternative. It didn't work, and it very nearly killed us both. My voice choked over the words, the emotion of the memory temporarily overwhelming me. What do I have left but the 4th option? It sounded like a plea. It's what she wants. At least, she thinks she does. I've been trying to delay her, to give her time to find a reason to change her mind, but she's very stubborn. You know that. I'll be lucky to stretch this out a few more months. She has a terror of getting older, and her birthday is in September. I like option 1, he interrupted. It should have been me. She loves me. I know it. But she loves you. You know exactly how much I hate to accept this, he whispered shakily. But I can see that you do love her, in your way. I can't argue with that anymore. I wish to God I could. Given that, I don't think you should have given up on the first alternative. Not yet. I think there was a very good chance that she would be okay. After time, you know, if she hadn't jumped off that cliff in March, and you had waited another 6 months to check on her, well, you might have found that she was reasonably happy. I had a game plan. Maybe it would have worked, I chuckled. It was a well-thought-out plan. Yeah, he sighed. Not exactly. But it would have worked. If everything hadn't gotten so screwed up, she was falling for me. She did fall for me. I know it. His words were beginning to rush together. He spoke so passionately, with such feeling, that I almost wanted to believe him. You want to save her life just as much as I do. Give me a year. Blame me if you want to. But give me some time, and I know I can make her happy, Edward. I really think I can make her happy. She's stubborn. No one knows that better than I do. But she's capable of healing. She would have healed before. And she could be human. With Charlie and Renee, she could grow up, and have kids, and be Bella. Please just consider the possibilities. You have to love her enough to see the advantages of that plan. She thinks you're very unselfish. Are you really? Can you consider the idea that I might be better for her than you? I have considered it, I whispered, more than I'd care to admit. In some ways, you'd be better suited for her than another human. Bella takes some looking after, and you're strong enough that you could protect her from herself, and from everything else that conspires against her. You've done that already, and I'll owe you for that for as long as I live. Forever, whichever comes first. I even asked Alice if she could see that, see if Bella would be better off with you. She couldn't, of course. She can't see you, and then Bella's sure of her course, for now. But I'm not stupid enough to make the same mistake I made before, Jacob. I won't try to force her into that first option again. As long as she wants me, I'm here. And if she were to decide that she wants me, he challenged. I arched an eyebrow. Okay, he shrugged. It's a long shot, I'll give you that. I would let her go, I answered, with a confidence that surprised even myself. Just like that? He asked, shock and skepticism lacing his tone. I nodded. In the sense that I would never show her how hard it was for me, yes. But I would keep watch. You see, Jacob, you might leave her some day. Like Sam and Emily, you wouldn't have a choice. I would always be waiting in the wings, hoping for that to happen. His thoughts were a jumbled mess for the briefest seconds after my comment, but from what I gathered, he hadn't considered the possibility, or didn't believe that he would ever imprint. Like Sam was to Leah, he was completely devoted to Bella, but a small twinge of fear gripped him, thinking of Bella one day ending up as bitter and hurt as Leah had become. Well, he sighed, you've been much more honest with me than I had a right to expect, Edward. Thanks for letting me into your head. I nodded. As I said, I'm feeling oddly grateful for your presence in my life tonight. It was the least I could do. You know, Jacob, if it weren't for the fact that we're natural enemies, and that you're also trying to steal my reason for existence, I might actually like you. What? Well, maybe we could be. If you weren't a disgusting vampire and planning on sucking the life out of the girl I love. Maybe not. Well, no, not even then. No offense, you understand. I chuckled, expecting no less of a reaction from Jacob. It was surprising how seemingly comfortable we had become in the span of only a few hours. I was beginning to see in him what Bella had attempted to describe, and the idea that he loved her was impossible for me to deny. But that didn't change what we were, enemies. He was still attempting to steal her away, and I would not let him succeed. Now that we were being honest, I wondered if he would allow me a question. I had asked Carlyle about Bella's dream, the third wife, but he knew nothing of the sort. "Can I ask you something?" I asked. He arched an eyebrow. Couldn't you just—" "Why do you have to ask?" he replied, seemingly confused. "I can only hear if you're thinking of it," I explained. "It's just a story that Bella seemed reluctant to tell me about the other day. Something about a third wife." "What about it?" he asked. But there was no need for his question. As soon as it was mentioned, the story began playing out in his mind. The vampire, who ironically looked like Rosalie, came seeking revenge from the Quileutes. The body strewn about, the blood dripping from her lips, her savage screams. It was certainly a gruesome sight, designed to frighten young Quileutes of our kind, but it still didn't explain. She destroyed a wolf, the chief's son, I presume, and the chief attacked in rage. His wife watched helplessly as her son died, and her husband fought with his life. She stood, powerless, but guarding her other children nonetheless. Then I saw it. The wife snatched a knife and ran towards the fray. With no ounce of fear or hesitation, she stared at the vampire and pierced her own heart with the knife to distract her. It worked, and her husband bested the vampire, but at the expense of his wife's life. I groaned, pinching the bridge of my nose. Bella kept insisting that she wanted to do something to help, that she wanted to be a part, to have the ability to defend herself, to defend me. "Of course," I hissed. "Of course. I rather wish your elders had kept that story to themselves, Jacob." "Oh, please. You don't like the leeches being painted as the bad guys? You know they are, then and now." "I really couldn't care less about that part," I spat. "Can't you guess which character Bella would identify with?" "What's he talking about? I don't—" "Oh, the third wife. Figures. Okay, I see your point. She wants to be there in the clearing," I explained. "To do what little she can, as she puts it." His eyes widened as he imagined exactly what would happen if Bella were dropped in the middle of a fight with the newborns. We would both lose her. I exhaled slowly, shaking my head, wishing now more than ever that I could see into Bella's mind, make sure she had no plans to do any such thing. Alice had warned me that something like this had been brewing in her mind. That's the secondary reason for me staying with her tomorrow. She's quite inventive when she wants something. "Tell me something I don't know. But you can't blame this all on us. You know your military brother gave her the idea just as much as our story did." I furrowed my brow. He was right. I imagined that neither side intentionally put the thoughts into her head, but we had just the same. Neither side meant any harm, I whispered. "And when does this little truce end?" He gestured between the two of us. "First light, or do we wait until after the fight?" "First light," we said together, laughing nervously at our temporary truce. "Sleep well, Jacob. Enjoy the moment." He closed his eyes, nuzzling his nose into Bella's hair and tightening his arms around her. A smile crept onto his lips as his thoughts became intimate once again. Whether he was fantasizing intentionally to antagonize me, I couldn't be sure, but I wasn't about to tolerate it. I let out an audible groan, running my hand over my face. "I didn't mean that quite so literally." "Sorry," he smirked. "Not really. You could leave, you know. Give us a little privacy." "Would you like me to help you sleep, Jacob?" I threatened, only minutely serious, although the thought of knocking Jacob unconscious did hold a certain appeal. "Yeah, right. You could try. It would be interesting to see who walked away, wouldn't it? Don't tempt me too far, Wolf. My patience isn't that perfect. I'd rather not move just now, if you don't mind." he sighed, closing his eyes once again. His breathing gradually slowed, and he began snoring lightly in his slumber. I watched them, lying together, completely at ease, and I hated him in that moment. Hated that he could do this for her. Hated that it couldn't be me. I watched as he began to dream, unsurprisingly dreaming about Bella. His dreams weren't nearly as offensive as his fantasies, but seeing how he felt about her, how he dreamed their life could be, was still difficult to stomach. I closed my eyes and clutched my hands over my ears, humming to drown out his thoughts. I hummed the only thing that could bring me peace in this moment, the only piece of music that would soothe both Bella and myself, Bella's lullaby. I shut out the world. I shut out thoughts of tomorrow, shut out Jacob's dreams, and instead I created a dream of my own.